Hey guys, gals, and non-binary pals, it is Matt, and it's like 2 a.m. and I decided that I wanted to film and edit a video right now. So, what we're doing is something I haven't done in a very long time. I'm filming a TBR tonight. I'm like very much so a mood reader, so I don't always stick to TBRs. I just pick up what I'm excited about, but I kind of have a little bit of a plan. And that's why there are like a lot of books on this TBR, is because I'm definitely not going to read all of them, but these are the options that I'm going to try and reach for this month in June. So I made a new friend, an old friend, my best friend, Eva, my roommate, she invited her friend over, who I haven't seen in like 10 years, and turns out she likes to read, which is awesome because I really don't know anybody in real life who likes to read. Other than actually her brother, he reads a lot of fantasy as well. But I really don't know that many people who read, and so we made a plan to pick up the book The Midnight Library by Matt Haig, I believe. And this is a book that's interesting. It's kind of like my idea of heaven. Personally, for me, heaven would be if I woke up in just a massive library that had all of the true information of everything that has ever happened in the world. Like, I could pull out books on the minute details of the lives of, like, people like Emperor Justinian and Empress Theodora, who I stan. I love her. And I could just find out, like, all of the information that I've always wanted to know. That's my idea of heaven. And that's kind of what this book is about. This girl wakes up in a library called the Midnight Library, and it seems like books there contain all of the different ways that you could have lived your life, and ways that everyone kind of can live their lives. It's kind of like the full range of human experience, I believe is what the book is about, and it's pretty short, so we are going to pick that up together. Okay, so there are two more books that I forgot to mention. They were at the top of the list, but I somehow missed them because I'm so scatterbrained. But the books that I am currently reading right now are The Unholy Consult, for one, and that is the final book in the kind of Prince of Nothing Aspect Emperor series by Asgard Baker. This series is super overwhelming and dense. I am a Malazan fan, so I'm used to complicated, and I actually adore the Prince of Nothing trilogy. I think it's fantastic. But then there is a sequel quartet, and the first book was good. The second and third one were such a slog. They were, in fact, a great ordeal, if you will. Sorry, bad joke. And so I read those like maybe a year or two ago and really struggled, and then I started book 4, the final book, and just could not do it. And so I decided to actually do a buddy read of The Unholy Consult, so I've started that, and I'm about like 9 chapters in so far. And then the other book is 10 Arrows in Iron by Sam Sykes, the first book being 7 Blades in Black. And this series is about a woman named Sal the Cacophony. She used to be a mage for the Imperials, but her magic was stripped from her by a bunch of people, and she's hunting them down with the aid of her gun, Cacophony, who's this talking gun who absorbs magic and shoots magical bullets and stuff like that. And destruction follows in her every footstep, basically, which is what I was told when I went to Japan, and then the hurricane, tsunami, nuclear meltdown happened the day after that. So I do relate to her. So I'm about a third of the way into that, and that's great so far. Anyway, those are the two that I missed, and that's all. Bye. Back to the video. Then we have Son of the Storm, which is a West African-inspired fantasy story. This is a book I've started already, and I am not super, like, feeling it yet, but I do think it's something that I am going to end up liking. I'm maybe like 5 chapters in, and I'm just not connected to it yet. But the story is basically about this country, and it seems like they are kind of isolationists, and there's something strange going on with the border, and it seems like people from the outside world are having like some kind of weird effect on what's happening. That's all I really know about it so far. But I'm excited to pick it up, and the cover is absolutely gorgeous. Then we have one that I'm not sure I'm going to get to, and that is The Witchwood Crown by Tad Williams. I adore Tad Williams as a writer. I think he's fantastic. People really, really like his Outland series, which is honestly great. That series is that same tired trope of getting stuck in a VR video game. A trope that I despise. I hate isekai anime. There's so much lit RPG about it that's just awful trash. And Otherland was actually fantastic. It's incredible. But the series I love the most from him is his Shadow March series. And so I tried reading his first series ever, starting with the Dragonbone Chair, and it was just so classic and so boring that I couldn't get into it. And so I never read that series. But The Witchwood Crown is the first book in a sequel series to that, and I'm hoping that I can pick it up without too much difficulty of having, like, not known all of the past stuff. So we'll see if I get to that, because it is very, very long, and I'm like a chapter and I have no idea what's going on. Then we have a short book, which is Piranesi by Susanna Clark. Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell is her other book. Oh! I keep forgetting that I want to watch the BBC show of that. I know it came out years ago, and it's something I've been interested in ever since I read Jonathan Strange and Mr. Norrell, but I keep forgetting about it. Anyway, Piranesi is a really short book that's basically about this man who seems to be very naive, maybe not have all of his memories, and he wakes up in this gigantic house full of rooms. In the bottom, there's like an ocean with the tide that rises and like ebbs and flows. On the upper levels, there are clouds within this house. And once a week, he meets with this man in the house, and they discuss stuff. That's all I really know. I know it's kind of like this weird surrealist fantasy that a lot of people have been raving about. So I definitely want to get to that as well. I feel like it might have a little bit of a Vita Nostra vibe to it in some ways. So we will see. Oh, and speaking of Vita Nostra, I'm also going to read The Only Good Indians, which is a story about, it takes place here on Earth, and it's a story about four First Nations men who are haunted by some kind of tragedy in their past, and now all of these years later, it seems like they're actually haunted for real by some kind of vengeful spirit. And I hear that it's like this weird psychological horror and very, very scary. And I'm hoping that maybe if I read this book, Kat from Paperback Dreams, who loves it and raves about it, will finally read Vita Nostra, which I've been telling her about for like 6 months now. So that's my hope, even though she probably doesn't even follow me. Then after that, I might read Hyperion by Dan Simmons. This is a book I really don't know anything about. I know that, like, I think there are like 7 travelers all traveling together to this weird, distant, far-off planet or something. And I hear that it's absolutely incredible. It's a classic that a lot of people really like, and Brittany just read it and was raving about it, and I love her. She's fabulous, and she has really great taste. So I really actually do want to pick this up. And it also makes me want to get back into Dune, so I might finally finish Dune Messiah, or maybe restart it because it's so short. Another option after that is Book of the New Sun, or Shadow of the Torturers Book 1 by Gene Wolfe. This is another book that lots of people love and rave about, kind of a classic in its own right as well. And all I really know is that this takes place on a different planet. I'm not sure if it's sci-fi or fantasy, but this kid is an apprentice in the Torturers Guild, and he commits the ultimate sin of showing mercy. And the story kind of goes from there. And I've only really heard incredible things about it. So I'm definitely stoked to get to that, hopefully this month. I've tried to read it like twice before and just couldn't get into it. But that I don't think is anything to do with the book. I think it just wasn't the right time or the right mood for me to dive into it properly. Then I found out about a book coming out soon called Rings of Hesperon, which is a sci-fi, and it follows a young girl on a far distant planet, and it seems like there are fantasy elements because she has some kind of latent supernatural power that she is kind of like learning to harness somehow. That's all I know about that. I just saw that it's coming soon on Audible, and it looked a bit interesting, so I put it in my wish list. So I might get that as well. So we have 4 more options left to go. The next one is The Black Tongue Thief. This is a book with a really, really beautiful cover that reminds me of that book I just read called The Black Coast by Mike Brooks. They have very similar styles of covers, and The Black Coast was fantastic. I recorded a review for it. I don't think I ever finished it. So maybe I'll edit that and put that up at some point too. But The Black Tongue Thief is basically about this guy who has been trained as a thief by the Thieves Guild, I guess. And for all of his schooling and education, he's in a whole lot of debt to them. And so he's kind of like an indentured thief servant until he's able to pay off his debt. And in order to try and get some money, he is out basically not even being a thief. He's more being like a bandit than doing any kind of heisty shenanigans. But I know that he is like in the crossroads waiting for people to come by, and it seems he messes with the wrong woman. This woman is the personal handmaiden to Death herself, and that I found very intriguing, and it's something that I am super excited about. The next book I'm talking about is Rabbits, which is something that I also saw on Audible. It just had a pretty cover. I clicked on it, and it sounds fascinating. It's basically about this weird, expansive, crazy AR game that's been going on since like the 1950s or 60s. And so far, it seems 9 or 10 people have gotten to the end of this challenge and won, whatever that means. Nobody knows what the prize is. It seems to be rumored that it might be like CIA or NSA recruitment, extreme wealth, the secret to immortality, the secrets of the universe. Like, nobody really knows what the prize is. But the reason that I think this is so fascinating is because it sounds like it's inspired by Cicada 3301, which if you don't know what that is, you need to look into it. I will actually link a video down below by the channel Let Me Know. He is a fantastic storyteller in his videos. He's not a booktuber or anything. He makes video essays about things he's interested in. And Cicada 3301 is this like weird, strange kind of puzzle that just kind of popped up on the internet one day. And people have spent tons and tons of time decoding it, devoting all of their time to it. And it's this incredibly difficult challenge. And it's just fascinating. And so I'll definitely link that, and you should check that out. If there's anything you take away from this video, check out Cicada, because it's bonkers. Then there's a fantasy book called Star Eater. This is about a woman, and she basically wants to avoid getting pregnant at all costs. It seems like it's some sort of like Handmaid's Tale kind of ish situation where she is required to further on the magical bloodline of this order that she belongs to, and it seems like she's kind of being forced into pregnancy. And she wants to avoid that even if it kills her, and kill her it will. That's all I really know about it. I looked into it because Star Eater sounds a lot like Sun Eater by Christopher Ruocchio, which is a fantastic sci-fantasy series, which is kind of like Dune, Name of the Wind, and Red Rising all mixed together. I should really talk about that in a dedicated video, because Sun Eater is fantastic. But some people don't like it. Some people find book 1 very, very boring and just never continue on, like Brittany, who I mentioned earlier. She didn't like it at all. So I am actually curious. I want to ask her about why that is. But yeah, that's Star Eater. And the last book that I had no idea was even coming out until just like an hour ago, and that is Go Tell the Bees. And that is Go Tell the Bees, I'm Gone by Diana Gabaldon. I used to actually call her Gabalong, which was just a mistake, but it's honestly kind of a funny name because gab and talk along. Her books are very, very wordy, and so Gabalong makes a lot of sense. But Outlander Book 9 seems to be coming out this month, and I had no idea, and I am excited to get into it. But yeah, those are some of the options for books that I'm going to read this month. We will see how many I actually get finished. So I'm going to do something rare and record a wrap-up at the end of the month, just to kind of check in with myself and see how I did. Because I never really set TBRs for myself, but I thought that I might this month. So those are all the books I wanted to talk about. It's quite a few. I'm not going to get to all of them, but those are just some of the options that piqued my interest. So that's all I have for you guys tonight. Bye.